I'm going to name somebody who played in the Roundball, and you, just a quick, even like 5 words or less, something like that, just tell me what comes to mind, okay?
Go.
1983, Pearl, Washington.
Oh, my God. Pearl, Washington was the first of the showboats.
Man, I loved him.
And he backed it up.
I love that guy. 1979, Dominique Wilkins, Bob. How about that one?
Oh, nobody better when it comes to soaring through the air.
Sonny?
Well, he was the first of the dunkers, and you're absolutely right. He was the first of the dunkers before we knew what the heck the dunkers were. That's exactly great. Well, thank you.
I'm looking at these attendance figures too from the Civic Arena. One of my favorites. This was a guy I used to imitate in Nerf basketball. Campy Russell from Michigan. He shot the ball over his head. He came to the arena many years later as an executive for the Cavaliers when LeBron came here for an exhibition game. And I went up to him and said, I used to imitate you in Nerf basketball. And he looked at me like I was crazy. Anyway, Campy Russell.
How can you shoot a ball on top of your head? I mean, seriously. I mean, how could you do that? It was the most. In fact, there was a kid at Duquesne a long time ago that used to put it above Dave Ricketts' brother, I think. He used to put it above his head and shoot that set shot. You know, Campy and things like that. These kids did when they were young, and we didn't know what the hell they were doing. There was a guy named Helicopter. Somebody in New York, he can jump on top of the dam and take a quarter off the top of the scoreboard or some darn thing. The legendary things happen without anybody around, and then you just keep saying and talking about it. But those 3 issues right there, that's what legacy is. Remembering something that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen.
1989, one of your MVPs was Shaq. What do you remember about that guy?
Well, Shaq, easy to remember, but not so much from Pittsburgh because he wasn't the highest-rated guy coming in. He came in with that. He's still mad at me because there was other guys in there he said I gave shoes to before I gave to him. But Shaq proved to be, obviously one of the greatest players ever to play. The most outspoken individual coming from those decades until today. And he also happens to be one of the most literate, successful guys ever. So a kid from a background, his father was in the Army, and he was in Europe and all that stuff. When he came to the States to play in the Dapper Dan, he had just come back to America. So Del Brown actually helped me get him. I didn't really know that much about him. And Del Brown, because of, Louisiana, that's how I even got him. But, so many stories like this at the Dapper Dan, especially the early one. Moses Malone. I mean, my God.
That's one of my favorites.
Oh,
Moses Malone.
But this has been great. I like this question and answer. I like history.
Well, I'll finish it with this one. I'd be remiss. I have a very good friend, Frank Benkowski from Ambridge. I've known him for 30 years, and every time I see him over these 30 years, he mentions the Ambridge. Was it the 67 Bridgers or 68? I can't remember. But Dickie DiVenzio was your MVP in 67.
As soon as you said Dickie DiVenzio, as soon as you said Ambridge, it had Dickie DiVenzio at this time. Now, let's go back to, Calvin Murphy and all that stuff where little guys had things. Dickie DiVenzio was one of the most talented kids I've ever been around, and you're going back to that era when, today you see it all done. Dickie could shoot, run, but he was a hero in many, many ways, but his ability to play basketball with that team of that era is legendary, and he should be recognized. He went through an awfully hard time at the end and that stuff, and the things that didn't work out as well. But if you're just talking for a shot of a kid there, that team and that kid was as good as anyone that ever played in that game.